Thozamile Taki was a man who walked the earth with a warm, smiling face. Born in 1971 in a small, tight-knit rural area called Majola in Port St. John's, Taki grew up to look like an ordinary, everyday family guy, but behind that unassuming, ordinary face was a deeply calculated, remorseless monster. Journalists and criminal profilers would later describe him as a jackal in a sheepskin. In 2007, in the historic town of Zandie in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, the massive emerald green sugarcane fields hid his dark and horrific secrets from the world. The thick wooden stalks rose way over people's heads, completely blocking out the sun and creating a labyrinth of shadows. It was the perfect, dead, silent hiding place for a predator who knew exactly how to blend in. To ensure he looked entirely harmless and respectable to the young women he targeted, Taki was highly meticulous about his personal care and daily presentation. He knew that looking rough would ruin his scams, so he took great care with his personal grooming. When he walked down the street, people just saw a successful, clean-cut professional, completely unaware of the darkness brewing beneath the surface. This is exactly what makes serial perpetrators so deeply terrifying. They don't walk around looking like monsters. They look like your ordinary neighbor, a friendly stranger on the street, or a helpful businessman. Taki knew precisely how to weaponize his normal appearance to make innocent people trust him instantly, and tragically, he chose to target people who were highly vulnerable and just trying to make their lives better. South Africa has historically faced incredible high unemployment rates, and Taki knew that young women across the provinces were completely desperate to find work to support their struggling families. He deliberately chose to use this economic desperation to fuel his own sick greed and absolute cruelty. He created a wicked, multi-step plan. He would approach young, ambitious women between the ages of 18 and 35. Confidently, he lied through his teeth, promising them that he had direct connections to secure them high-paying jobs at massive, prestigious corporations like Nestle, Toyota, or Hullets. But there was a catch. He told these eager young women that to secure the position, they needed to bring a specific amount of upfront cash. Sometimes he claimed it was for advance rent at their new corporation job location, and other times he said it was a necessary bribe to guarantee the position. The amounts ranged from 300 to 3,000 rands. To these poor rural families, that was a massive, life-altering fortune. Once the trap was set, Taki would instruct his victims to meet him at bustling transit hubs like the bus terminals in Zandie or Port Shepstone. They arrived dressing in their finest clothes, carrying bags packed for a new life, and clutching the hard-earned cash their families had scrambled to pull together. They looked at Taki and saw a savior. He looked at them and saw prey. He would tell them that before heading to the corporate offices, they needed to take a shortcut through the agricultural fields to meet a supervisor or fill out final paperwork. He led them away from the safety of the crowds and deep into the sprawling, endless labyrinth of the Zandie sugarcane plantations. As the sounds of the city faded, the emerald green stalks closed in around them, The sugarcane grew up to 10 feet high, creating dense claustrophobic walls that blocked out the horizon and muffled away any sound. Inside the plantation, the air was thick, hot, and completely still. Once they were deep enough into the shadows where no one could see or hear them, Taki's warm smile vanished. He would turn on the women instantly, demanding the cash. Before they could even process the betrayal, he would overpower them, using their own clothing or bare hands to strangle them to death. He left their bodies hidden beneath the dense canopy of the sugarcane, taking their money, their dignity, and their cell phones before calmly walking back out of the fields alone. Just imagine the sheer terror of that realization. You think you are walking toward a bright future to help your family, and suddenly the person you trusted turns into a nightmare. The sugarcane fields weren't just a crime scene. They were a perfect natural trap. The stalks were so thick that a body could be lying just 2 feet off the main path, and a person walking by would never notice a thing. Taki relied on the nature to hide his sins. For months, Taki's natural wall of silence worked. Families grew desperate when their daughters never called from their new jobs. But when reports of missing young women began piling up at regional police stations, investigators noticed a terrifying pattern. All of them had vanished after going to meet a man about a job. The breakthrough came from the very items Taki viewed as priceless: the victims' cell phones. Taki wasn't just a killer, he was arrogant. Instead of destroying the phones, he kept them, even giving some to his girlfriend, Hlengiwe Bashimane. Detectives from South African Police Service began tracking the unique serial numbers and signal data of the missing women's cell phones. The digital pins led them straight to a single doorstep. In September 2007, the police closed in and arrested Thozamile Taki. But arresting him was only the first step. The police needed bodies to secure a conviction. When forensic teams entered the Umzinto plantations, guided by cell tower data and horrifying discoveries by farm workers, the true scale of the horror was unmasked. Skeletonized remains and decomposed bodies were unearthed from the mud beneath the sugarcane. In total, the remains of 13 young women were recovered. The sugarcane killer was finally unmasked to the world. As Taki sat in the high-security C-Max section of Pretoria Central Prison, awaiting trial, his arrogance turned into desperation. He knew the forensic evidence against him, the DNA, the cell tower data, and the victim's stolen belongings was an airtight death sentence for his freedom. He decided he was not going to wait for the verdict. In a jaw-dropping display of defiance, Taki orchestrated a daring cinematic prison break. Inside his cell, he secretly tore up his prison bedsheets, meticulously braiding them together into a makeshift rope. On a dark night, he managed to breach his cell area and slip out onto the towering roof of the prison facility, preparing to descend the massive exterior walls to freedom. But gravity has a way of catching up with the monsters. As Taki swung his weight onto the bedsheet rope, the fabric strained under the pressure. High above the concrete courtyard, the makeshift rope suddenly snapped. Taki plummeted several stories down, crashing violently onto the hard ground below. He survived the fall, but the impact shattered his spine. The man who had ruthlessly hunted down and overpowered 13 young women was now permanently paralyzed from the waist down. When he finally rode into the High Court for his sentencing in 2011, he was confined to a wheelchair, a physical manifestation of his shattered arrogance. The judge showed absolutely no lenience, delivering a crushing blow to the killer. Thozamile Taki was sentenced to 13 consecutive life terms, plus an additional 208 years for armed robbery. Today, he remains locked away in a maximum security medical facility, completely paralyzed, serving out sentence that ensures he will never again walk on earth or the shadows of the sugarcane fields as a free man. It is a chilling twist of poetic justice, isn't it? A man who ran through the sugarcane fields, hunting down vulnerable women, ended up losing the very ability to walk because of his desperate attempt to escape justice. The damage he caused to those 13 families can never be undone. But Thozamile Taki will spend the rest of his days looking at the walls of a prison cell, completely powerless. If you enjoyed watching my documentary, please click and subscribe to my YouTube channel.